Voting for this special election for the County Council's at-large seat began today. NCTV has introduced or reacquainted you with each of those candidates.
Joining us in the studio today is candidate Angela Angel. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Angel. I wanted to start talking a bit about your history. You've had a lot of experience working in the State House and working with the Prince George's County Council, but not necessarily as a council member. So can you talk a bit about that experience and how does that make you the most qualified candidate for the at-large seat?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me. As you mentioned, I worked in the State House both as an employee, I was legislative director for the county delegation, and I was also a member of the House representing District 25 of Prince George's County, which is our central district, large district, really active. And when I worked for the council, I did social service and education policy, helped analyze budget, create policies, and watch and manage all of the different departments. I also worked actually for the county executive. I was the legislative counsel for the Department of Environment. So I've actually worked at every level of government and very much understand the intricacies of what goes on between the departments. I know what DPWT does, I know what DPI does, and how those differentiate. I know where there are some gaps, some things that could be addressed because I've been and worked inside those departments. And I understand the role of council and how we can use the power of the pen and the power of our office to get things done for the citizens of our county, and that's what I'm going to do.
Ms. Angel, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you just tell me what you personally believe is the most pressing issue facing our county?
I believe the most pressing issue facing our county is our education system. Because when we talk about crime and when we talk about drawing businesses, that all goes back to our education system. One of the things I asked as we were talking about juvenile crime, you mentioned earlier, is I asked for our county stat folks, have they done a run of the data? See where these children are coming from, what schools they attended, were they receiving proper services? We can actually map that data and begin getting an understanding of what's driving these statistics. What resources are lacking both for the children and their families. We also, and that starts in our education system, we can also look at education because it's an economic driver. When companies come to decide where they're going to put millions of dollars and invest new businesses, the first thing they look at is what are the school systems, because they have to get their employees to want to go there. So education affects all things, and it's one of the top things that I'm going to be addressing.
So going to education, you know, we're currently trying to implement the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. That's a big part of the county's budget and has a lot to do with why the county has this large budget deficit. Absolutely. So if you're in the at-large position, how are you going to balance paying for the Blueprint and also closing this $170 million budget deficit?
The budget deficit is not something to be ignored. And one of the things that I would like to do, and when we talk about top priorities, one of my top priorities for this county is to expand the federal grant process that we don't participate in enough. There are funds out there for infrastructure. There are funds out there for environmental things. There's I believe $672 billion of federal grant funding out there to fund all of these types of projects that we could be taking advantage of to address the building up of the blueprint, but also not drain our resources. So that's one of the main things that I'm expanding to do. I want to, as your county at large council member, I want to expand our federal grants by at least 50%.
And so I want to shift just quickly back to education. You said that you were the only candidate who has children in the PGCPS system. Can you please tell me how you are bringing that experience as a mother to this at-large seat?
Not only do I have children in our system, my children have special needs. And so one of the reasons I ran for this office is because every day my 11-year-old daughter gets up around 5:30 in the morning. She has to ride a bus 45 minutes to go to a school that meets her needs. And that was after years of advocacy. That was after years of me being an attorney and knowing the system. So I know there are thousands of kids that are not receiving their services. And so that's why I'm running. That type of experience, that's why there needs to be a parent on the school system, not just a parent, but a parent who comes with experience and knows budgeting and all of the other aspects. And that's something I can do and be an advocate for our schools, our students, and make us a better county.
Great. I want to shift to talking about the economy in Prince George's County. A lot of the candidates that we've talked to say they want to bring Prince George's County back to being the most affluent Black majority county in the state, in the country. What are your plans to support the businesses that are currently here in the county and attract new ones?
So there's a couple of things that we can do. One of the things goes back to my reason of filing for the federal grants, because we have grants that can help grow our businesses. We have a lot of people here that are federal contractors. We should be doing programs to help them get more contracts and to benefit their small businesses. We can also be attracting more federal contractors here. We aren't taking advantage of the amazing things. I don't say just going back to the most affluent county. That's great. We're going to do that. But also there was a time when you heard us all say, this is gorgeous Prince George's, right? That was reflective of the people and the county at large. Let's get back to gorgeous Prince George's. That means we're also talking about bringing business to the corridor, the Silicon Corridor that's with University of Maryland. A lot of people miss that that's part of Prince George's County. I don't know how many times I've heard MGM is in DC. No, it's a great economic driver that we should be driving businesses and saying, look at all of the land and places around MGM. How can we build the businesses up there and attract more to that area, building sustainably and growing our economy?
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Angel. That's all the time we have today, but thank you so much for being here and talking to us about these important issues.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Make sure that you are tuned into CTV News for continuous election coverage.
And if you missed any of our candidate interviews, you can catch them on our YouTube page at youtube.com/PGCTV online.